transition town. A lot of you know this place. It's normally a bit busier. We are planning on moving out soon. Yeah, my involvement here was through a project called Let's Eat, which was designed to sort of bring people together, to cook together, to eat together.
My name's Martin Allen, and we're here in one of the community garden plots at Transition Towns Forest.
I'm Rosie Tate. I'm the coordinator of the Wellbeing project that we run here at Transition Town.
For the last 2 years or so, I've been involved in growing food for courses at Transition Towns Forest through the Let's Eat project, and some of the planting boxes that we'll see in a few moments.
The project is a lottery funded project, and it's designed to support the over 50s in the community with well-being in its broadest sense. So we look at physical and emotional well-being.
So yeah, just talk about community groups. Some of the groups we work with people from the DWP. We work with Raise Opportunity with people with quite severe physical and some mental problems. We work with the Ball group, so we targeted sort of nutrition for people who are elderly and what's best for them. We work with so many different groups, lots of essential skills. Again, that was adults with reading literacy difficulties, so we incorporate the cooking with reading menus and weighing things and all of that, and that was really worthwhile. Vulnerable families, we had families here who've been struggling, cooking together, the kids there, the mum and dad getting involved and sitting down and having a meal together, and it's beautiful to watch. I was having to pull some of the kids off the walls at some points, but it was okay. And
also looking after sort of general grounds, some of the planters and apple trees that we'll see around, selecting flowers and trying to sort of beautify the Transition Town site and make it more welcoming and colourful.
The types of classes we offer are really decided upon by a steering committee who come to me with suggestions. Sometimes I have suggestions for them, and we decide what we're going to put on. So there's been a huge variety of classes that have been on offer, everything from upcycling clothes to gentle exercise, and a really lovely age-wise class which Marco ran.
So my activity is usually more out in the Transition Towns compound, but we've come just now into one of the community garden plots, which is looking rather colourful at the moment. So there's a lot of food production going on here with for the gardeners that look after this, but also an important part of a whole system is to have flowers for pollinators to bring in lots of beneficial insects which help balance everything and control some of the pests and insects which feed on the food we're trying to grow. So some of the things we have around us at the moment, behind me, we've got these wonderful sunflowers which the bees love, and later in the year the birds will love the seeds, and we may even be able to harvest seeds for ourselves, so that it's a food source all around. And lower down we have borage, which again is great for pollinators. You see the honeybees here darting around these beautiful flowers, and these are also a food item because they're a great garnish for salads and they're very tasty. So they're edible flowers. We have calendula, we have some dahlias here, and lower down we've got some nasturtiums here which I think are coming into the path, but we've also got nasturtiums in here, beautiful orange with the blue borage, and these are also edible flowers, so they're good for salads. The leaves are also good to eat, and planted around cabbage and brassicas, they can also be what we call a sacrificial plant. So the cabbage white caterpillars will eat nasturtiums in preference to our cabbage. So it's another natural way of sort of working with the insects which may take away the food that we produce. So, bon appetit. So you saw a little earlier one of the community garden plots, which is planting the earth. The ground is divided up into sections that people can cultivate, and it's planting directly into the ground. But outside here in the main grounds of Transition Towns for us, we've got these old potato boxes, which are a great height and a great manageable size for people to grow lots of produce in, or flowers, or whatever they want to do, especially if they're not maybe as experienced and they're finding their way. It's a great experimental area, really. Another advantage of these boxes is that we are not totally rabbit free here. So outside of the wall, outside of the community gardens, we do have rabbits here, so this keeps crops away from the rabbits. What
are the other advantages of raised beds, would you say?
Well, it's actually for those people of limited mobility, maybe with back problems, it's much easier. I mean, these boxes don't really need any heavy tools to maintain, mostly a hand fork and a trowel. The heaviest job would probably be bringing in manure and putting some compost and things into the boxes, but after that everything can be done with very small hand tools. So that's what I find a great advantage. Another advantage I can see just looking at these crops, the carrots on our left here, there's no need to net carrots because carrot fly don't fly more than a sort of 2 feet above the ground. So these, I can sow carrots quite happily here and be guaranteed a fairly good crop, because the carrot fly won't, which is very common around here, won't go for them. So basically we're standing in front of a row here to my left with, you may be able to see some signs going off into the distance with a logo, Growing Strong. And there's a name on each box. So I'm Martin Allen, and these are my 2 boxes at the front. This year, because we've been restricted in visitors here at Transition Towns for us, we've asked for volunteers and put these boxes over for volunteers to grow food, which is then going forward for benefit to the community. And so we're coming to harvest time at the moment in lots of these boxes, and we hope to start providing a veggie box on a regular basis to Moray Food Plus. So that's in this area of the garden here. Further over to my left, there are more community garden boxes which are available for people from the wider community to just take on as a mini allotment, so to speak, and tend as they wish. And over to my right, there are other boxes which at the moment aren't being used so much. Just if people have spare seed and spare plants, we're putting them in just to make the area more beautiful and to utilize the land. But in previous years, these would have been cultivated for the Let's Eat project, which is a project about growing and learning how to use the produce fresh from the garden. So we were running cookery classes pretty much in the kitchen at the Transition Towns main building, and last year I was cultivating 17 boxes here to provide food for those projects. So we're just at the moment in these challenging times, or these different times, looking for different ways to use the boxes and make sure that they're as productive as possible. So this year, in the changing times that we're having to adapt to, we're looking at different ways to use these boxes and make sure they're productive in helping to support the local community in different ways.
The whole COVID thing has been immensely challenging because we haven't had our normal site to use. So the ability to gently introduce people who are kind of they maybe are a bit afraid of technology, to gently introduce them to offers online has been really invaluable. So we've done a little bit of moving towards online work, but also as a result of the Cora Award, we've been able to actually make direct contact with our participants and really establish what's going on for them, how they're feeling, and also really to gauge what they might want us to offer in the future if for some reason we're in the situation again, which obviously we hope we're not.
This year in particular, there have been a lot of restrictions on our lifestyles, and a lot of during lockdown, for example, movement has been very restricted. People haven't been able to get out of houses, flats, although getting out and being able in a controlled environment to get out in nature and get hands in soil and try something different is a release, and something I've found extremely valuable. Fresh air, exercise, and in growing something there's the process of learning something new in a wonderfully healthy environment, but also there's usually something at the end of it, whether it's a beautiful sunflower or a box full of sunflowers which can be enjoyed for their beauty, or whether it's a box full of wonderful produce that can go into a soup or salad and nourish us from a physical and an emotional point of view.
The gardening is really helpful. We're hoping that we'll empower people to look at what is in their own garden to nourish themselves at this time, and how they can practically actually translate that into really tasty dishes. The consultations have been really good because they're really going to help us nail down what we can offer for people unfortunately, if we come to this situation again. So yeah, the funding has been invaluable. Another thing that's been really helpful about the consultation sessions is that we really have a clear idea of the problems that people have had during lockdown, and we want to really support them as they emerge. And so even though our premises are open again, we will be bearing in mind what people have gone through as we decide what we're going to provide for them in the period up to Christmas.
If I don't grow my own food, I like to know who's growing it. It's a very personal thing. These are things that I'm going to cook with and put into my own body and for my own health and well-being, and I love to produce something and eat it fresh from the garden. There's a wonderful network of local organic growers here in Moray, and I'm fortunate enough to know a lot of them, so it's good to, if I don't grow it myself, if I don't have access to the land, it's good to have that personal touch and know where the food comes from. There's the added impact of the whole environmental impact of the supply chain involved with supermarkets and shipping things to central warehouses and then out to stores, which is really simplified by growing locally, and very strong for local community networking and community building. It's difficult to articulate because it just feels so natural. I would love for, we've got a wonderful large site here. We utilise a very small part of it really, but I would love for this place to be ringing with the sound of families and lots of little places under trees or under shade where people can meet and hang out in the summer, can experiment with their own growing, grow their own food, experiment with horticultural skills to save seed, grow from cuttings, colour, aroma, sounds, an alive place for the community for us. But down here at Transition Towns and in the community gardens that are here on the site, there's there's lots of opportunity to learn even if you don't know how to start gardening. So if you can get down here and make inquiries and get hold of a box, there are lots of people around each day in the evening or around at the weekends who are willing to share their experience and knowledge and help get you started. So it's really easier than you might think. And even if you can't get out, if you can't get down here and you have limited space at home, then you can try quite easily with a little pot on the windowsill, maybe the kitchen windowsill, sow a few seeds, rocket, salads, maybe a little basil or something that you can grow and crop and eat fresh every time you visit the kitchen windowsill. It's a lot easier than you might think and really very rewarding. So happy growing.